Imagine that. Aren't you entitled to a trial on that issue? Doesn't it get down to credibility of witnesses? And I think they do that because that's what would happen. You know, those courtrooms would be overwhelmed with cases. And part of it is, I mean, sometimes, some years ago, people didn't know very much about jury demands. That went out like wildfire. You know, you walk in and file a jury demand, and you start the clock running, and you're going to get some time. So I understand our judge. I would have never said that. That may be my belief. I would have never said it, and everybody in the courtroom heard it. What does that tell you? I can't believe it's only this judge's attitude. And you need vigorous, confident counsel to put up with that and to deal with it. And it's grossly unfair because suppose it's the truth. I didn't get the 5-day notice as the tenant, and they did. It's jurisdictional. It has to be jurisdictional. Or I did pay the rent. What do you got to do? You know, sometimes tenant says, well, what should I do? How can I prove I tendered the rent? I said, well, you got a video camera? You know, get a copy, what's it, North by Northwest or something? Take today's Tribune, you know, that you could prove the date, and you're at the, and you could show the landlord running down the street, you know, fleeing from you because he won't take your check. You know, and you video, now you got something. Or take somebody with not a close relative, perhaps not a co-tenant. Figure out a way so that you have something that a judge has got to bend on. Until I got 5 minutes. Free research. Those of you who are members of the Illinois Bar ought to know the FAST case is available for free in the state of Illinois. Is it as good as Westlaw? Good as Lexis? It depends on what you mean by good. If you're looking for the latest landlord-tenant cases, if you want to find landlord-tenant cases and create a library, it's wonderful. I've tried it, and I'm very, very happy with it, and I like it because the lawyer's favorite word is free. One of my favorite words is free. It's free, you know, and it works very nicely, and there's hardly any learning curve at all. Larry Wood is going to tell you about the bench book. In my opinion, he is the author, even though he may tell you that others had a hand in it. It's the Bible, which he'll tell you about, of doing things in the eviction courts. The bottom line, you know, really is also timekeeping, because a lot of the fee petitions are based on timekeeping. You're going to have a time and billing program. If you're just going to do 1 or 2 of these and not very many, you can keep time. I once asked this of a much older lawyer than I am when I was a much younger lawyer. Why don't you have a computerized time and billing program? He pulled out, he did mostly appellate work. He said, Paul, I work on 2 cases a day, sometimes 1. I got a yellow piece of paper in front of the file. I work on it all day. At the end of the day, I write the date, I write what I did, I put the time down. What do I need more than that? Now, all of us are supposed to be good with comebacks, right? I looked at him, I said, you know, you're right. I have to confess, you don't need anything more than that. He was very, very successful. Written fee agreements, got to have them. A new case came down about written fee agreements. You got to all take cognizance of retainers. Retainers are good if you can get them. When tenants come and see me, and I say, how many months have you paid, or have you not paid rent for? 3, 4, whatever it is. Then I begin to think retainer. They haven't paid the landlord for 3 or 4 months. They ought to be able to come up with a retainer. Now, it may not cover all the time, and hopefully there's other things that you can recover with because of the way the ordinance is worded, which you'll learn more about presently. But it also gets their attention. You know, my experience is if you work with people and they haven't paid you anything, they very often come back and tell you what other lawyers who they didn't pay anything either tell them. You spend too much time doing that. Trust accounts, I have to believe money starts coming in, and you get a check made out to you and your client. It's good practice for lawyers. Make the client sign the check, and you're going to deposit it. And when the check clears your trust account, then you'll disperse out of that for the proceeds of the settlement. Many clients will complain, don't you trust me? Well, we always say, well, it's a question of professional ethics. We have to do it this way. But my real answer, I never verbalize, is no, I don't trust you. I don't trust people that I don't know, and sometimes people that I do know more than people that I don't know, that they're going to send me the money that I have coming. And why do it? And why take the chance? If you get into higher volume, you've got to think very seriously about automation. In that case, as immediate past chair of the Technology Committee of the Chicago Bar, it's a very active committee. We meet monthly. You get CLE credit for coming to most of our meetings. Join the committee. You know, we don't threaten anybody, and you can learn a lot. And when it comes to technology, that is one area where lawyers really, really, really are happy to share information. If you'll expose yourself to it, what you have to do. The internet, you've got to be on the internet. One last thing. Mention that lawyers like things for free, and I think my time is just lawyers, for instance, there's a product called Acrobat. Adobe Acrobat, it has a free reader, one of the most astounding, intelligent companies that the world ever created, because they give the reader away. And those of you who are on the internet are probably working with the free reader. So there's a commercial version where you can do a lot of additional things with it, need some training and some use, but it may cost $300 or $400. Because, oh my God, $300 or $400. It's like, not paying the mortgage for a month or whatever. I said, well, I'm going to tell you a story. When my wife and I had a service bureau doing work for lawyers back in the 70s, there were no computers. It was before IBM came out with the PC in August of '81, and there were word processors. Now, most of you in this crowd are too young to remember word processors. They were the king and queens of document production in the 70s and early 80s. Those machines cost from $15,000 to $20,000. We're talking in the 70s. And I was running a 5-lawyer law firm at the time. We bought 2 of them. I coerced my partner. I wouldn't even talk to him about it. I said, his brother happened to be a big shot at downtown Chicago bank because we had to borrow the money. And we went to the bank and we borrowed the money. And we did a lot of condo conversions in those days, and we were one of the few small firms that realized how boilerplate documents, individualized, but boilerplate documents could be used. And we did value billing. It wasn't called value billing, but that's what we did. I've had conversations with ARDC. If they'd been more active in those days, they may have had something to say about that. But I tell people, compare the cost of technology today with the cost of your home. Now, when I bought my first home many years ago, it cost $24,000. And I told you I bought 2 machines, $15,000 each, $30,000. These 2 machines cost more than my house. I must confess, I had a bit of difficulty explaining this to my wife. But that's what we did. We never looked back, and it was terrific. Compare that today. What would it cost you to really automate, even as a solo practitioner? What would it cost today to really automate yourself and get up to speed so that when your volume grows, you can handle it efficiently and expeditiously? $4,000, $5,000. You could probably do it well within that range. And what's the value of the average home today? About $250,000. So technology has been very kind to us in this regard. So hopefully I've been able to give you some reasons to get involved, from pro bono to making some money to maybe making a lot of money. You can make a living in this environment. You've got to get involved. You have a chance to get involved and be Perry Mason or some of the lawyers that we've seen on television. And if this is what you want, and the cases are there for many organizations, then you're in the right place today to learn about it. Thanks.